Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Discover the Foundation for Effective Business Analysis. I'm your host, Tiffany Aquilino, and I work on the marketing team at IIBA. IIBA is an independent, not-for-profit professional association serving the global business analysis community. A recognized thought leader dedicated to elevating the discipline of business analysis, we provide our global community with relevant tools, resources, and networking opportunities. A little bit of housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the Q&A panel and we will answer some of your questions as time permits at the end of the session. Today's webinar recording will be available for a limited time on IIBA's webinar archives page within 10 business days of the broadcast. Please also check out the chat area for information on how to get a copy of the Business Analysis Standard. I am here with an accomplished business analyst for an exciting discussion about the foundation of effective business analysis through IIBA's new publication, the Business Analysis Standard. I'll start by introducing today's presenter. Welcome, Maya. Maya is an experienced business analysis professional, consultant, and trainer dedicated to the continuous promotion of business analysis as a profession. As a consultant and trainer, she's helped many organizations develop a center of excellence, establish business analysis standards, and improve the quality of business analysis activities. In her current role as product manager for IIBA, she develops compelling and high-value business analysis content in support of IIBA's strategic efforts. Welcome, Maya, and thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Tiffany. It's really good to be here today. And I see we have participants from different countries from all around the world. So I'm really happy that I'll be able to share some news about the standard.
That is exciting. I'm seeing Vancouver and Montreal, South Africa, Ottawa, Gatineau, India, Chicago. Welcome, welcome, everybody. So glad that you're joining us today. So we're actually going to start today's webinar with a quick poll. You can submit your responses using the voting tool, and we're going to open it up for about 60 seconds. And it's just to kind of get a sense of how familiar everyone is with the Business Analysis Standard. So I'm going to launch the poll right now. You should see that pop up. Just use the voting tool there to pop in your answers. Just yes, a quick yes or no. And thank you, everyone. I see responses flowing in really quickly. Give you guys a couple more moments and then we will share the results. And I think we've got most of the answers. So I'm going to just go ahead and end the poll. And here are our results. So it's looking good. We've got 66%, almost 70% of you that have familiarity with the Business Analysis Standard. So that's good stuff. So I'm gonna close this poll and I'm just gonna pass it over to Maya just to get us started a little bit.
Thank you, Tiffany. So I'm really glad to see that most of you today have already heard about this new standard and that you're familiar with it because, you know, we've been working on the standard together with you, our global community of business analysis professionals, for almost a year and a half before it was published. And I'm really glad that you find value in it. And during our webinar today, we'll dive deeper into the standard and try to answer all the questions you might have about it.
That's perfect. Thank you so much, Maya, for just kicking us off. So yes, we're jumping into the most common questions that we've gotten about the standard since we've launched it. We're just having a conversation. We want to get some insights on these top questions. So diving into the first question for you, Maya, and it's simply kind of a start here. Just what is the business analysis standard? Want to take us through that?
Well, this is actually the hardest question to answer because, well, we'll try to answer these questions with all other questions as well. But to give you a little bit of information, the new, let's call it the new, but the business analysis standard is our new publication, and it was published recently in November last year. And like I said before, it was co-created with our global community of business analysis professional. The main thing is that it provides a simplified, inclusive view of business analysis, and it also includes the foundational concept in, let's say, refreshed and easy to use format. The new standard also provides direction for the future development and integration of our business analysis standards and resources. So that's a little bit of overview of the standard, but we'll dive deeper with more questions as we go forward.
We're definitely going to dive deeper, and some of the things that stood out to me just in your answer is the co-created with the community, and the refreshed and easy to use format. So excited to dive a little deeper into some of those elements of it. Can you provide a brief summary of the key concepts that are covered in the business analysis standard?
Sure. So the standard has some already existing concepts, but it also has some new concepts. If we are talking about existing key concepts and practices, you're probably already familiar with them from the BABOK guide and, for example, Agile extension, but also some of our other guides. Like, for example, what hasn't changed is how we define business analysis. The definition of business analysis hasn't changed for now. This also includes how we perform business analysis and why the business analysis is important. So these concepts, they haven't changed. They remain the same. They're very important. They are still important to our community. We also retained the business analysis core concept model, or like you perhaps know it by BACCM. We even try to use it more into some of the areas of business analysis activities, which you perhaps notice if you looked into the new standard. You will see that we used BACCM in all business analysis tasks. And tasks and knowledge areas are also some of the key concepts that hasn't changed, and they are important parts of the business analysis standard as well. There are also some new concepts in the standard, but I don't want to discover everything right now. I'll talk more about these a little bit later.
That sounds good. And I just wanted to do a quick mention in the chat. If there is some sound related issues, there's some troubleshooting info that we just dropped in there. So I hope that helps rectify some of the sound concerns. Moving forward, and thank you, Maya, for that answer. How would you explain how this publication differs from the previous course standard that some of us might have already be familiar with? What's your take on that?
Yes, well, to explain how it relates to the previous global business analysis course standard, I would like to give you some background first. The BABOK guide, current version 3, was published back in 2015, and you probably know that this is quite a big book. It has more than 400 pages of content. And at that time, this was a lot of content to digest. So our community, you asked for a summarized version of this BABOK guide version 3. So therefore, actually, the Global Business Analysis Core Standard was published to provide you a summary of some of the key concepts that can be found in the BABOK guide version 3. And that core standard was published back in 2017. So it was really just a summarized version of the BABOK guide. It didn't in its content didn't have anything else other than what you can already find in the BABOK guide version 3. So basically, it was copied and pasted from the BABOK guide version 3, but it was light. It only had around 40 pages. So it was easier to go through that core standard, to go through key concepts of the BABOK guide version 3. But the difference with this new standard is that we took a little bit different approach. So instead of just copying and pasting the existing content, we actually ask you as our community to provide us some insights. So during that year and a half, people in different roles with different job titles from different industries around the world, they were both practitioners, they were also some leaders in their organizations, and they all participated in the development of this new standard. We engaged volunteers worldwide. We had a series of workshops, and during those workshops, those volunteers shared their thoughts and helped us to set the direction for the new standard. Because we didn't want for this new standard to be summarized version of the BABOK guide. During this time, we also engaged our global business analysis experts from different industries to participate in what we usually call an expert review. And they provided feedback that was also incorporated into this standard. And finally, some of you have maybe participated in our public review process where our members were had an opportunity to review the standard and also provide us their feedback. So the new business analysis standard actually represents the most current, the most important thinking from our global business analysis community. So it's not an update. It completely replaces the previous global business analysis core standard.
Thank you. Thanks for the clarity. And it's important to mention the various touch points and how the community was engaged, and even being so close to the process, you forget of the different elements and engaging members in the community at large for this kind of work. And yes, so the previous Global Business Analysis Core Standard is gone, and the new business analysis standard completely replaces it. So thank you for that clarity on that question, Maya. I think this is the big question that everybody loves to ask, and you probably love talking about it. it's the whole what's new. And so what's the new information? I know you gave a lot of context and the process of how we got to launching the standard, and a lot of where the how it's aligned and the core concepts are still from the BABOK, but there's new information in there, and I think that's what people are interested in knowing and applying. So let us know. Let us know.
Yeah, sure. Yes. Like you mentioned, we have some new concepts in this new standard, and some of these concepts cannot be found in any of our previous guides, so they are brand new, but they were brought up by our community as important in this period that we are in. So I will mention some of these new concepts. I think one of the most important concepts is around having a flexible and adaptable mindset that is required for effective business analysis. So we never talked about mindset before, but right now in the standard, the mindset is very important. And there are also some principles that are important for this effective mindset as well. So we also have those principles explained in the standard. What's also new is that for the first time, we are talking about some foundational competencies and foundational techniques. As you know, the BABOK guide has a lot of competencies mentioned. It also has a lot of techniques, I think 50 or something. And but it's hard to digest all of those. So these foundational competencies and foundational techniques, they were actually identified by our community as the most important competencies and techniques that every business analysis professional should learn and develop. And that these foundational competencies and foundational techniques could also be applied, they could be applied to and used on many different types of initiatives. And we intentionally try to keep that list very short. So there are only 5 foundational competencies and 5 foundational techniques. It doesn't mean that other techniques and competencies are not important, but these are the starting point for you to develop as business analysis professionals. And there are also some new concepts or considerations around sustainability, diversity, equity, and inclusivity. So this is something that is more and more relevant in today's world, and organizations and business analysis professionals that work in those organizations should consider them when performing their work. And what else is new? Oh, yes, we are talking about managing the delivery of business analysis within an organization in different ways. So, for example, this could be center of excellence, or, for example, community of practice. And we will probably talking even more about those in the future. So this is just like starting point that these things are important, these concepts are important, and we'll be talking more and more about those in the future. So I think these are the most important new concepts in the standard.
That sounds great. I was a great summary, and if we have time, I can imagine that might being a question that we can maybe even shortlist for our attendees today, just to really gravitate to what's new. So what's new in there? Moving us along, how does this publication help professionals understand how to apply the new concepts? Can you speak to that a little bit?
I'll try. So the standard summarizes key concepts and proven practices that represent the foundation for good analysis. And with this standard, we are trying to move away a little bit from hard to read books. And instead, the new standard is really lightweight and explains business analysis in simplified and easy to use way. It is designed for ease of use, and it also provides some basic examples of how business analysis tasks apply to different business contexts and different types of initiatives. And these examples could help any business analysis professional to better and to be more effective at performing business analysis. We try to keep it lightweight, but of course, we did include references and links to other knowledge sources. So the standard is a summarized version, but of course, if you would like to learn more about specific topic, standards can guide you there, because we would like to, with this standard, to help you to perform better and more effective business analysis. So it's easy to digest and it's easy to find all relevant information in one place.
That's great. And I think that, being easier to, it's more approachable in a way, for maybe those that aren't fully engulfed in business analysis, or just kind of on the fringe. And I'm talking about my own personal experience as a marketer, and I do find that relating to the content in there is, like you said, it's easier to digest, and a nice stepping stone to some of the other knowledge sources. So that's just my own little personal experiences with it, and I know that many others will have different ways that they understand and apply the concept. So thank you for that. Next question is, how can you best leverage this publication as a practitioner? So maybe not someone like me who's just learning or trying to get more aligned in the concepts. Like if you're already in the profession, and how does this help you?
Well, there are different ways in which you can leverage the standard, regardless of previous level of experience. Because, for example, if you're not familiar with business analysis, then you can definitely use the business analysis standard as a foundation for understanding business analysis and what good business analysis looks like. Because we already said that all key business analysis concepts and practices are described within the standard. But for example, if you're more experienced, you can also use the standard as a guide for performing business analysis to produce better results. We mentioned, I have mentioned foundational techniques, for example. So these techniques are essential to performing business analysis, and it can help you to be better at those techniques. In the standard, we also identify techniques that can be used when performing specific business analysis tasks. So in each business analysis task, you will find some of mostly used techniques when performing these tasks. I think that important thing is worth to say it again, that It provides a pathway to other knowledge sources. So it makes easier for you as a practitioner to find more detailed and more relevant information without wasting so much time trying to find all the information you need. And you could also use the standard for your professional development as practitioner, because, as we mentioned, there are foundational competencies. You need those to perform better, to be more effective in your work. So the standard can help you identify competencies that you could improve or that you could further develop. And also in each knowledge area, we have identified what competencies are the most important for you to learn in order to perform tasks from some knowledge area. And of course, if you are an experienced practitioner, perhaps you can use the standard even to explain the importance of business analysis to those who may not understand it, because it's easy to read, it's easy to understand, and I think anyone can find value in the standards.
Thanks, Maya. I think that that actually leads perfectly into the next question. You spoke to it from a practitioner's standpoint. What if you're, in a leadership role or management of teams? Um, you know, is there a way to leverage the standard in your role and in your work?
Yes, of course. It's a little bit different perspective, but there are different ways to find the business analysis very useful. So if we are talking about business leader or manager, this could be, for example, we can include in this definition also communities of practice. This could be centers of excellence also. So any business analysis leader within an organization. And as you know, leaders are usually mostly concerned about improving their team and delivering more to their organizations. So, for example, as a leader, you could use the standard to benchmark current performance and perhaps to identify the areas of business analysis that could improve in the future. Another example is that you can use the standard to establish and share a common understanding of what good business analysis looks like, what are good practices, processes. You can establish business analysis standards within your organization, or perhaps methodologies or techniques that will be mostly used, and standards how to use them in most effective way. Another example is that leaders could use the standard as a starter kit, and they could assess and improve their team's capabilities in order to deliver higher quality outcomes. So it's related to performance as well. And perhaps, as we said, with practitioners, you can use the standard to teach someone else about the importance of business analysis. Well, for leaders and managers, it's kind of a similar thing. You can use the standard to help other leaders in the organization to understand the value of good business analysis, and to communicate that value to other teams within this organization, other departments, and so on. So there are different ways that you can use the standard for sure.
Definitely. I know some of the themes I'm hearing you say, the COEs, performance, coaching, teaching. Yeah, there's many different ways that that you kind of don't instinctively think that you could leverage the resource. But thank you for pointing those out. as other ways as leaders to use the resource. So our next question is, how does the standard address the current challenges faced by business analysis professionals today?
Well, we do have a lot of challenges. I think when someone thinks about one of the most current challenge, well, perhaps it's not a challenge, but it's certainly something new. You know, everyone is talking about ChatGPT right now. Uh,
Yes,
I think it's too early for us to discuss this, but perhaps in some future webinars we'll be talking about this
I think
even
we
more.
will. We will. Yeah.
But the fact is that the world around us is constantly changing and evolving. And to be honest, so is business analysis as a profession. And we as business analysis professionals need to keep up with these latest trends and best practices. And we should be able to adapt faster to those changing needs. The other thing, one of the challenges we are facing today is definitely large amounts of data. Data is everywhere, but not all data is good data, as you know. So as businesses generate more and more data, it could be really difficult for business analysis professionals to identify the most relevant information and to make sense of it. So as IIBA actually realized that we do need to help business analysis professionals by providing them only relevant, simplified, and easy to use information. And the standard, the business analysis standard, is our first step towards that goal. The standard represents the foundation for effective business analysis. It is up to date, it is aligned with evolving business practices, but it also provides a summary of everything that is essential to every business analysis professional. So it's lightweight. And we already mentioned, but it's worth mentioning again, it provides references to other relevant knowledge sources. So you don't need to spend a lot of time searching for relevant information. You can use the standard as your starting point, which will guide you to other relevant sources and everything you need to know to help you perform business analysis better, and that will help you to be more effective. So I think we have a lot of work in front of us because we have a lot of challenges, but at least we are doing something in that direction. And I think with further development of changing world and the standard will be achieving this goal even better than we do now.
For sure. That's good. Such timely references to just what's going on in the AI space and things like ChatGPT and data, which I think my favorite line from you today is not all data is good data, which couldn't be a
Yes.
true which couldn't be a truer statement. So thanks for your perspective on that. So I know we talked about what's new. There is a new feature in the standard or section called task cards. So do you mind kind of uncovering like what that entails and kind of explain it a little bit for everyone?
Yes, sure. I said that we have the same business analysis task that can be found in the BABOK guide version 3. But what's different is that we repurposed them and we created them as one-page overview cards. So these cards are, let's say, a summary of everything important about something you need to know about business analysis task. They are color coded, and they are also aligned to the BACCM, or Business Analysis Core Concept Model. So each business analysis task, and that at that one page, is described by having in mind what is the need or the purpose of the task, what is the value that this task delivers or creates. We have in mind the solution, or which is the output or outcome of the task. We are mentioning stakeholders that are typically involved in certain tasks. We are also mentioning techniques, and as I said, those techniques are frequently used in the context of the task. Doesn't mean that these are the only techniques that you could be using while performing a specific task. And we are also describing the change that is created by performing a certain specific task. So everything is summarized in one page. It's easy to read. These task cards, they actually summarize everything fundamental you need to know about certain task. We also, for each task, we also provided a small example, and these examples are basic examples of how business analysis tasks can apply to different areas or different initiatives. And you might find those examples helpful as a starting point. The idea is to provide you even more examples as we build in different knowledge sources. For example, in our knowledge hub in the future, we will be providing more and more examples to you as well. How can you use this task? Well, of course, you can use it in different ways. But for example, you can print them out because they're one page. You can use them whenever you need them. For example, as a quick reference, when planning your business analysis activities, you have your 30 business analysis tasks or cards, and you can even prioritize them because you can play around them if you like. So this is something you can use even separately from the standards.
That's great. In addition to everything you said, I guess visually too, they're engaging and kind of follows that easy to digest theme that you've mentioned, and definitely the printing and using it as quick reference is a nice to have on top of everything that you kind of broke down. So
yes,
thank
and
you.
the idea is because I saw one question, so I'll just quickly answer
Okay, perfect.
it. The idea is to provide these task cards in our knowledge hub into futures as a separate downloadable file for you to use it regardless of the standards. So we are working on it.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you for adding that. Yeah, there's a lot. I've been trying to keep up with the chat, but we'll definitely, any questions that we can't get to at the moment, we're going to reserve some time at the end. But I love seeing the chat so lively. So that's great. There's a lot of talk about membership and certifications and print versions of the standard. So all amazing chatter going on there. So I'm going to move us forward to our next question, Maya. And I really feel like you've definitely touched on this already in a couple of questions, but just for clarity, how does the business analysis standard relate to the BABOK guide?
Yes, I know there's probably some confusion around it. So it's worthwhile explaining it in more details. So the business analysis standard is meant to be a summarized representation of key concepts and practices that are essential to creating good business outcomes, to performing good business analysis. And some of these concepts and practices, like, for example, the BACCM, or the knowledge areas, or the business analysis task, can also be found in the BABOK Guide version 3, as you already know. But the intention of the standard is not to replace the BABOK Guide, but to provide a foundation that will be explored and explained in more detail through the BABOK Guide, but through other guides as well. And right now, at this moment, there are no changes to the BABOK Guide version 3 content. However, in the future, there will be some updates of the business analysis standard, and they will drive probably the future updates of the BABOK Guide content as well. So, like, if you remember from the beginning of our webinar, we said that the core standard was created as summarized version of the BABOK 3, and there was nothing new in it. But with the standard, we do have some new concepts, new practices, and we need to connect those concepts and those practice with other guides as well. So right now there are no changes, but we'll probably make some changes in the future.
Okay, thank you for that clarity. I'm going to move us along to our next question here. And the next question actually leads perfectly into the next question, which is, does the business analysis standard affect the other guides? So you kind of explain on its relation, and with BABOK, we know it's, a pathway to other content from IIBA, but I'll give you an opportunity just to kind of explain how it intersects with the other guides from IIBA.
Yeah, so we do have a lot of guides. The BABOK Guide version 3 is just one of those guides. But the thing right now, those guides are mostly books and they are not connected. With the business analysis standard, we are moving, this is actually a first step toward connecting all our knowledge sources to help business analysis professionals perform better business analysis. So it provides key concepts, not just from the BABOK Guide, but from different knowledge sources, such as the POA Guide, BDA Guide, and, for example, Agile Extension. And the standard will guide you through all those guides to find more relevant information on specific topics. But right now, those are just links and references, but it is also just our first step towards integrating all our knowledge sources together, so that you don't have to go and look in 5 different books to find the information you're looking for. We will connect all these knowledge sources for you so that you are able to easier and more quickly to find what you're looking for. So to answer this question, at this point, the standard does not affect the content of any of our guides. But same as with the BABOK Guide version 3, in future, the business analysis standard will probably drive the changes to those guides as well, because if we are, for example, changing something that is relevant to different guides, we need to make those changes into those guides as well, because we need to have them all connected and all integrated.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to move us on to the next question, which is, are there any plans for future updates or new edition of the standard?
Yeah, I kind of already announced that. Uh, well, we know that this is a dynamic world, and things, like we said, they're constantly changing. And the idea is that the standard will be updated on regular basis to align with those changes and also with the needs of our global business analysis community. So what does this mean when we say on a regular basis? Well, you don't need to worry. It's not that it's going to be changed every month or so. But like for now, in the past, you would usually wait, I don't know, 5 years to see a new version. So we definitely don't want to wait for another 5 years to go out with new version of the standard. So those changes will be more frequent, but not frequently than a year and a half period, probably. What we're trying to do is keep it relevant, keep it important, and keep it up to date to things that are important today. So perhaps in next edition of the standard, we'll be reading about AI technology, who knows?
Exactly. Keeping pace with the global community and relevant, like you said. So exactly. Things can happen, sometimes even overnight. And
Yes.
in this industry, you have to be, have your toolkit prepared. So great. Thank you for that. And this question, it's been one of our common questions that we've gotten, prior to the webinar, and even in the chat, there's been quite a few different variations of this question asked. So, does the business analysis standard affect IIBA certifications? Is the question.
Yeah, I know we have been receiving this question a lot. But no. At this point, current certifications or course materials, they are not affected by the new standard. However, as we mentioned, there will be some updates to the standard to keep it relevant, to keep it up to date. And in the future, as we update this standard, there may be updates to our course certifications. We don't know at this point, but you don't need to worry because any changes, those changes will be communicated with ample time to you. So don't panic because you'll know everything when the time comes.
Exactly. Thank you for clarifying that. And we're just rounding out here to another question that's been in the chat, and it's, how do I get a copy or find out more about the business analysis standard? So I'll actually answer that one, Maya.
Sure.
I'll make a little contribution. In the chat, I have shared a link where you can locate a copy. So the business analysis standard is available to the entire community as a free PDF download. So you can visit IIBA's website, and the URL, the easy URL is iiba.org/the standard. And as a member, as long as you're logged in, you can just download right from our site. And so make sure you're logged in for members. And if you're non-members, you can just follow the couple of steps on that page to access your copy. But it's absolutely free to everyone. And in a later slide, I will have the details shared on how to access how to access it. And I will also add that again in the chat. So there you can find more information. There's informational videos. We also have a Q&A on that page, and then we also have access to download your own personal copy. So I encourage you to do so if you have not already. So with that, we'd like to kind of just check in with everybody. I'm going to launch one more poll and just see how everybody's feeling about the information that was shared about the standard. So I am launching the poll right now. And the question that we're asking is, you can just use the voting option just to populate your answer there. And, do you feel more comfortable with the business analysis standard now? We'll keep it open for 30 to 60 seconds, just as answers start kind of populate here. And I feel like most of the answers are in, but I'll keep the poll open for another few moments, and then I will share our results. All right, I think we have most of them in, so I'm going to end the poll and sharing results. And I hope you guys can all see those results. And it's great to see that many of you, 85%, are feeling more comfortable with the resource and some of the main components and what's new in there. And for those who want to learn more, again, I will definitely share a slide on where you can access more information about this resource. So thank you so much for participating in that poll. So Maya, thank you so much for such a wonderful discussion and answering those top questions that have been coming in. We just want to make our community feel comfortable with this new resource, know how to maximize it, know how to navigate it. So your perspectives and your firsthand knowledge has just been invaluable. I'd like to take this opportunity to open up the floor to Q&A that's come in through the webinar right now. So I know that we have a couple of questions that we'd like to get to. So I'm going to jump into some of those, Maya, if you don't mind answering a few more questions.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Why not? Let's keep it going, right? So one of the questions that came out, I just wanted to make sure that I had that we addressed it. And any of the questions that we aren't able to get to, we will do our best to answer them offline in a blog on our website in the near future. So there is a question from Michelle, I believe, asking, will there be a print version of the standard available?
Well, for now, there is no printed version available, but if our community asks for it, we'll probably consider to add a printed version as well. So we're glad to hear that you're interested in printed version as well, and we'll definitely have that in mind in the future to perhaps provide even this version of the standard.
Yeah, and then just to add to that, we're always looking for opportunities to expand, really relevant guides in the print format. So just stay tuned to IIBA's website and any updates that we have with it being made available in additional formats like print will definitely be communicated there. So thank you. Thank you for your question. There's a question from Louisa, and her question is, are any of the new concepts only available in the standard but not in the BABOK?
Yes, that's true. So these new concepts can only be found in the standard because we didn't make any changes to the BABOK guide at this moment. If there were any new updates to the BABOK guide in the future, we will definitely communicate that to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And there is a question. This person did not leave their name, but it says, is there any case study publication available for the business analysis standard that can easily relate the standards and context? So I'm not sure. I think that question is asking if there's any case studies available that maybe shows examples on how you could maybe use some of the concepts. I don't know if that's the way you interpreted it, Maya.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, we will be providing more examples because, as I said, we with this PDF version, we really try to keep it lightweight and short. But the idea is to put the standard into our website in digital format, and in that place, we'll be able to provide you with more examples and perhaps even some case studies how to best use the business analysis standard. So we will be definitely providing more resources around the standard in the next few months.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Another question that we have here, and I think we kind of answered it, but just for clarity, it says, do you have to be an IIBA member to get a copy? And you do not, although membership does give you a lot of other perks. You don't actually need to be a member to get a copy of the standard. However, in order to have access to the other guides that Maya and I talked about, like the guide to BDA, Agile Extension, PDF of the BABOK guide, all of those are member benefits that you have access to when you're a member. So did you have anything else to add to that, Maya, or did I
No,
cover that? Okay. Okay.
you explained it very well.
Okay, all right. Another question, and I think you touched on it as well, is will the business analysis standard be available in IIBA's Knowledge Hub? I think you kind of alluded to that in the last question about availability and formats and business cases, or sorry, not business cases, case studies. That is something that we are working towards. Anything else that you wanted to add there?
Well, as we publish it in our Knowledge Hub, we'll also be providing additional resources, downloadables, templates, something that we believe it will be helpful to our business analysis professional to find the most usage of the business analysis standard.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, and with that, I realize that a lot of the attendees have to drop, and we are at time, so we're going to kind of bring the conversation to a close. Again, let me just share the slide in which you can download a copy of the standard. It was such a great discussion and topic to cover. I want to thank Maya again for just participating in this session. If you are interested in connecting or reaching out to Maya, best place is through LinkedIn or via email. I'd like to thank you, Maya, for your time and your insights, and just letting our community know how they can leverage this resource to support their business analysis practices. And I'd like to take a moment to thank our attendees for being here today. We will send you a follow-up email. Please feel free to respond with any questions or comments that you have. Thank you again for joining today, and have a wonderful day. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.